What's happening, guys? This is James Blom with a quick weekly recap for MMO news and announcements for the week ending January 20th, 2013. And our first bit of news has to do with World of Tanks. The news is that Wargaming announced that as of January 17th, Chinese tanks have arrived along with Update 8.3. The update adds 17 tanks used by the Chinese People Liberation Army in the mid-20th century. These new tanks are sporting impressive mobility, long-range, accurate guns, and decent armor, and according to Caleb Fox, head of esports of Wargaming America, the Chinese tanks are middle of the road in terms of battlefield functionality. To learn a bit more about this, you can check out the World of Tanks 8.3 preview interview at MMOHut.com. The next piece of news comes from Outspark and Fiesta Online. On January 16th, Fiesta Online introduced new permanent snowboard mounts along with several events to go along with it. It looks to me like it's just a snow version of the zip boards they released recently, which in turn also look like the hoverboards Marty McFly rode around in Back to the Future. Too bad we won't see any DeLorean mounts to go along with them in the future. Next up, Gravity Interactive has announced a major town update for Classic Ragnarok Online. This expansion will give players access to Lighthousen, which was originally introduced in the International Ragnarok Online and will now be available on the new pre-renewal Classic server. In addition to new quests, this update allows alchemists to create tiny programmable monsters to utilize as pets, and on top of the expansion, Ragnarok is having its jump start from now until the 29th. In similar news, Netmarble, the online game platform from CJ Games, is giving its players month-long bonuses for two of its popular titles, Uncharted Waters Online and District 187. Netmarble is offering these bonuses in regards to the recognition that both games received in 2012, and starting in February, Uncharted Waters players will have access to new areas to explore, along with a 50% skill boost lasting through February 6th, and District 187 players will have access to the M4A1 assault rifle, Desert Eagles, combat knives, and grenades with a 10% gold boost through February 10th. The next bit of news has to do with the second part of the Elsword Transformation Update series. This second update features the transformation of Aisha as a battle magician, and as you can see from the video playing in the background, Aisha is now more powerful at close quarter attacks, making it easier for her to match up to her enemies in melee fights rather than having to keep her range, which helps in both PvE and PvP modes. Battle Magician Aisha is available to players right now at level 15. On January 17th, German game developer and publisher InnoGames released new information about the pirate action game Kartuga, identifying the distinct worlds of the game. As shown in the video, InnoGames is implying that there are visual and map variety that doesn't exclusively look like stereotypical pirate atmospheres, and that there are multiple kingdoms that allow players to be diverse in the gameplay. This browser game is looking nice so far, and we can probably expect to see it in closed beta sometime next month. The next to last bit of news has to do with Dragon's Prophet. Infernium Productions have taken the first step towards the beta phase, which is actually sooner than we expected. There isn't a lot of information beyond the fact that it's basically a friends and family stage where a limited number of select participants access the game, but it's good to know that this anticipated game is actually making its way towards beta sooner rather than later. There wasn't a lot of news this past week, and the last bit of news has to do with the delayed launch of Wizardry Online. Earlier last week, SOE released a message saying the launch date of Wizardry Online will be pushed back to January 30th in order to give the developers more time to work out bugs. Meanwhile, the developers released a new video, which is playing in the background, that highlights the Dragoon Ruins dungeon in the game, where from the looks of things, this seems to be the place you will most likely permadie. Anyway guys, that's it for MMO news. As far as games to look for soon, Renaissance Heroes, the 16th century fantasy FPS, is transitioning to open beta on January 22nd, and for those interested, MMOHut has branded in-game items to pick up at the giveaway section at MMOHut.com. Also to look forward to, we have Path of Exile going to open beta on January 23rd, which will be the final character wipe for players who are just plain tired of that happening to them, and with the announcement they released this badass trailer promoting the launch. Tryon Worlds also kicked off the closed beta for Warface, the anticipated free-to-play shooter running on the Crytek engine. They also mentioned that the game is scheduled to launch mid-2013, so just around the corner. Another anticipated game from Tryon Worlds, Defiance, the futuristic open-world shooter that is working to run side-by-side with a corresponding television series, is through its stress test and now into closed beta. For those of you like PlanetSide 2 and Firefall, this game is worth checking out. Whether or not it's going to be free-to-play, they still haven't announced. Anyway guys, that's it for MMO news and announcements for the week ending January 20th, 2013. If you want to learn more about the news featured in this recap, head over to MMOHut.com/news. To discuss the news from the past week, head over to MMOHut.com/forums. Until next week guys, that's it for me. I'm James Blonde. See you out there, gamers.